everybody, how are you? It's Dr. Cruz from Design Your Destiny with Dr. Cruz. So it's June, and so it's time for what 3 things that I learned last month. And last month was quite interesting for me because last month I was moving from Japan to Georgia so that I could relocate to California. So I had a lot going on in May. So the primary things that I learned from my experiences in May was that, number one, to have everything that you want to achieve written out in an outline. Okay? That way you know what is coming up, what major steps are coming up, right? The second thing I learned, and I'll go more in depth on them. I just want to kind of give you an overview in case you can't stay for the whole video. The second thing that I learned is no matter how much stress you're going through or how difficult of a time it is, how dark it looks, before you, if you know that you have to endure something for quite a bit of time, just focus on taking the next right step. Don't look too far out. And I'll talk more about that in a minute, but just take the next right step, okay? And then the third thing that I learned last month is that sometimes people are going to be there to help you along your journey, especially when you need them and when you expect them. But sometimes nobody's going to be there. And in those times where people are there, appreciate them. Okay? Appreciate them and communicate your gratitude toward them. Don't take those people for granted. Okay? And when they are not there, toughen up. Endure. Endure what you have to endure. Okay? So I'm going to tell you some little short stories about what I had to endure to get to where I am today in California. Okay, so the first one that we were talking about is have things written out in an outline. So what this does is this provides great clarity for you, because especially if you're in a transition, like I was in a transition. I was leaving my job in Japan, and I had to come back to Georgia. I had about a week's time, and I came back to Georgia, and I had a lot to do. I had a lot to do in Georgia. I had to, most of my household goods were already packed up because I knew prior to going to Japan that I needed to move. But there was still stuff I needed to get together, right? And so I had to coordinate the shipment. I had to, so in Japan, when I was thinking about everything I needed to do, the first thing was I needed to make sure my tickets from Japan to Georgia were, squared away. And then I said, okay, what's next? Okay, this is how I was planning to make sure I didn't miss anything. So the next thing was I needed to make sure I had transportation from the airport to my home. And since my daughter was in California already, and I didn't want to depend on other people because I'm an independent woman, right? I rented me a car. So I had to coordinate that. Now I tried to coordinate the rental car with my reward points on my credit card, and that was a catastrophe, really. Like I'm so over reward points. I don't know if I have the wrong credit card company or if reward points are just played out and it's a lost cause. So I don't usually do anything with my reward points. I just leave them there. on the credit card until one day something like this comes up where I needed a rental car. Because my car had actually died when I was in Japan. It was in Georgia, but my car died. So, you know, I needed to get a rental car. So, so I definitely learned I'm over reward points. If you guys have some reward point tricks for me or whatever, please let me know. So then I coordinated, and then I was on a different time zone. So, you know, I had to plan to try to catch the company early morning before they got busy, and I was 15 hours behind. So, you know, when you're coordinating stuff, you have to think about, you know, time, you know, when do you want to call or coordinate with somebody? You know, you want to get it as early as possible before people start calling in and everything gets, you know, hectic during the day. Okay, so then after this, and what I'm explaining is how I went down the line to organize my outline. So then after I coordinated in my mind, okay, I'm going to get the rental car. Okay, boom. I'm going to pick up the rental car, and then what? And then I'm going to drive home. Okay, and then what? It was Memorial Day weekend. So, okay, I had to take that into consideration, right? And then I said to myself, okay, well, what else needs to happen? Well, now I need to coordinate shipment of my household goods. So I wrote that down. And then all the details, you know, the company, the hours, the phone number, the point of contact. You want to be very detailed in your outline of what needs to get done so that you have all the information there in case you need it. Okay, so then what? So then I needed to buy a car. So I put that on my outline. And, you know, when you have a big transition, or when you have something big in front of you that you need to handle, you want to list things out, you know, and maybe just free form it. You know what I mean? Just do a brain dump. You don't have to like go deep mentally right away, but do a brain dump. Be like, okay, I need to buy a car. I need to rent a car. I need to make sure my tickets are okay. I need to coordinate, you know, X, Y, and Z, whatever it is, right? And then you want to go back and you want to prioritize. Okay, what do I need to do first? You know, and even if you think it through, like I was doing, I was like, okay, first I need to get on the plane in Japan, so I need to get my tickets. Then I got to get off the plane in Georgia, so I need a rental car. And then I'm going to drive home, and then what am I going to do? Okay, I'm going to, you know what I mean? So I was already mentally thinking about things in order. So you can either do the brain dump, free form it, and then prioritize it, or you can think it through in prioritization order and then go back another day and make sure that you hit everything that you need to do. Okay. So in my situation, and even before all of that, I needed to pack out of Japan. So I needed to pack my stuff. I needed to take it to the post office. I needed to ship it. I needed to ship it in a particular time manner because I knew that things would get to Japan in a particular time period, like maybe 10 days. And so I wanted to make sure I mailed it in a time period where I could meet it here, because I knew there was going to be a week in between me traveling, being in Georgia. So, you know, this is just my example of what I had to do. But for you, what you may have to do is, you know, maybe you're planning a transition from one job to another job. Maybe you're transitioning from your home to a new home. Maybe you're transitioning, you know, I don't know, out of a relationship into another relationship. Maybe you are getting prepared for medical procedure and you want to make sure everything is going to be taken care of while you're away. So, and if you don't have a partner to kind of double check with you and to plan with you and to coordinate with you, then writing it out on paper really, really does help. Okay. And if you have multiple things that you are going to end up having to do, like I did, it can become quite daunting. I had to talk myself down from stress. I had to talk myself into peace and just self-assuredness that everything was going to be okay. Oh, you see my doggy? What are you doing, Fifi? That everything was going to be okay, because it can be very overwhelming. Go play. Yes, sir, go play. Go. He doesn't listen. But it can be very, very overwhelming. It was very overwhelming for me to transition from Japan, go to Georgia, pack my house up, buy a car, rent a car, do all this stuff, then plan my trip to drive across country. And, what road was I going to take? I wanted to avoid bridges and, stuff like that. And so whatever you have to go through, like what I went through, was very daunting. And I didn't have anybody there telling me, it's going to be okay. Well, I did, but, like my girlfriends and my coworkers and stuff like that, and family, my son, he was telling me, everything's going to be okay. My daughter was telling me everything's going to be okay. But for me, because I'm the person that had to actually go through the experiences of it all, if I thought too far into the future, I created anxiety for myself. And if I really looked too far into the future, because there was a time period where I didn't know where I was going to live in California. I didn't have a house yet. And so I was very nervous. And so when you can't see the answer in your future, I learned I really had to depend on my faith. And, I love my faith because my faith is my anchor. I have a very clear understanding, and I want you all to consider this. We are spiritual beings in a human body, but it's our spirit that existed first. And so our spiritual relationship with our Creator, and your Creator, is whoever you want it to be. Mine is God, the universe, the energy, the universal, omnipotent energy of the world. That is my belief. That is my Creator. And so because I believe in the power of my Creator that created the world, that created the sun and created the seas and created mankind and created every plant, animal, and species in existence, past, present, and future, because I have a very solid belief in that. I have a very solid belief in my faith. And it really does save my life many times. Because when you don't have a solid faith, then you're trying to figure things out here instead of from within. And within is where your peace is. Chaos is here. Peace is here. Okay? You must understand the benefits of your spirit. Okay? What gifts does your spirit bring you? It brings you peace. It brings you calm. It brings you understanding. Not human understanding, spiritual understanding. Okay? So, do your outline. And then as you're progressing through your transition period, just do the next right thing. Do the next right step for you. Just focus on one thing at a time. One thing. Just focus on one thing at a time. Get that one thing done. And then focus on the next thing. And then get that thing done. And then focus on the next thing. I'm telling you, it's magical. It's magical. If you start looking 2, 3, 4, 5 things deep, you're going to stress yourself batty. Don't do it to yourself. Have faith that everything on your to-do list is going to get done in its time, in its appropriate time, and that your responsibility is just to focus on the next right thing to do. So once I, realized I needed to pack out, I coordinated what dates I wanted to ship everything from Japan to California. And then I got boxes. Okay, my next right thing was I need to go get boxes. Then I went and got boxes, and I was like, oh shit, I need tape. So then I went and got tape. And then, and then I stuck them in the closet until the date on my calendar where I said, okay, I'm going to mail them now. And then after that, I coordinated my tickets to make sure I had my tickets printed and saved in my phone for backup and things like that. And then the next right thing was I had to reserve the car, right? So I handled one thing at a time so that I didn't get stressed out and I could still enjoy the rest of my time in Japan before it was time for me to go, okay? Or Okinawa. Okay, so you got your timeline, your to-do list, and then just do the next right thing. Lean in on your faith because it's a very stressful time. If you try to handle stress as the flesh, as a human being, we know a little bit, we know some tricks of the trade to deal with stress, but really, if you really want to deal with stress, you lean into your faith. There is no stress there. There's no stress in faith. Faith is just faith, okay? That's a whole nother discussion, but, you don't have faith like that. You can start by saying, I have faith. I think that was my doggy. You can start by saying today, let's say you don't have faith in anything, right? And you want to start having faith. So today you can start saying, today I have faith. Today I'm going to start learning to have faith. But it doesn't happen just like that. You have to build it up. You have to learn to trust yourself. You have to learn to trust the universe. You have to go through experiences to see, you know what? And you could even do it in retrospect. You can say, when could I have used my faith? Or when did my faith show up even when I didn't believe? You know what I mean? So, and then in those cases, now you have proof. You're proving to yourself that your faith works. That okay, even if I don't, get everything done or whatever, I know everything's still going to be okay because I'm going in the direction that I know my spirit is telling me I'm supposed to go in. So things may not work out perfectly. Everybody, I don't know what the future is going to hold, but I have faith that it's going to be all right. And I assure you, if I can go from Okinawa to Georgia to drive across country to California and everything was okay, even when I hit, tough times, because there were some tough times, right? So one of the tough times was I had shipped all my stuff out, and so I had nothing in the house. And so I kept my comforter, which, I ended up throwing away. I wasn't going to keep it, but I kept it to lay on the floor. I didn't want to spend money on a hotel. I was like, I'm a sailor. I'm a retired veteran. I'm a foster care alumni. I'm a single mom. I can handle this. No big deal. I was like, me and my dog will camp out right here on the floor. And I didn't want to spend money on hotels for the 2 or 3 days or whatever it was that I had to wait to leave, because I knew I had to rent hotels as I was driving across country, and I wanted to save money, and it was no big deal. I was like, oh, I'll just lay on the floor, in my home. Well, one night I was laying in my floor and I saw the biggest spider crawl out of one of the rooms. And I was laying in the floor on my big, fluffy $300 comforter. And I was So I was good. I was comfortable. I was like, okay. And then I looked over one night and I saw it. It appeared to me to be a huge spider. When they're alive, they're a lot bigger because they got their legs out like this. But when he was dead, he was like this big. But that spider scared the daylights out of me. And I was like, oh, hell no. I'm not laying in this floor. If there's one spider, there might be a family of spiders. And that's not finna happen. I was having an anxiety attack. I was like, what the F? And and I didn't want to go to a hotel. I still didn't want to go to a hotel. So what did I do? I slept in my car for 2 nights. I slept in my car. And it's not a big deal to me because when I was in the military, I used to go to my car during my breaks and I used to take a nap. And so, for me, I've associated, not like sleeping in my car, like I live in my car. But, if I have to sleep in my car, it's not a big deal to me because I have previously associated that to being a comfortable place. And plus I just bought a new car. So it was a new car. So that's what I did. But, this is real talk. I toughed it out. You know what I mean? Because I was not going to spend a couple $100s on a hotel. And I was doing so much anyway. I wasn't really getting to sleep till like midnight. And then I was waking up like 6. So in my mind, I was saying, it's only 6 hours. I can do this. But sometimes in life, you got to tough it out. And you can't be a prima donna about it. You just handle your business. Okay? Focus on the next right thing for you to do and handle your business. Don't whine about it. Don't cry about it. Do what you got to do to get to where you need to go. Okay? Now, during this transitional period, there were some people there that went above board for me. They helped me out so much. And then there were other times during this transition, it was like a week that I was in Georgia, that I felt very lonely. And there was nobody I could call on. It was, for one, it was Memorial Day weekend. My daughter was in California. My job was just to go in, get everything done, bada bing, bada boom, and move and drive across country. But there was a couple of days there that I had to hold on. And those days, they were struggles for me. Sleeping on the floor, even though I was okay with sleeping on the floor for a couple of days, because in my mind, I wasn't going to spend a couple $100s on a hotel. It still was, even though it was something I chose to do, it still was, a bit of a lonely time for me. It was kind of cool because I was hanging out with my dog and, doing whatever I wanted to do. I was reading or whatever I was doing. I don't know. But, it was a cool moment because I knew I was in transition. And so I was kind of excited. But when I paused to think about how tired I was and everything I needed to do the next day and, the days coming and stuff like that, there were moments where, it was just tough. It was lonely. It was like, man, I could really use some help right now. And there was nobody there to help me. What are you going to do? You tough it out. Sometimes there's people there, and the people that were there for me, I owe them big time. They did so much for me. But for the moments that there was not anybody there, you have to know in your moment of tough time that you have to push through to the other side. Because on the other side, if you have a plan and you have an outline of what you're doing, you know that when you push through, it's only a moment. Okay? It's only a moment. Don't get wrapped up in a moment. Don't make a moment a lifetime. Okay? There's a saying called, don't major in the minors. So don't put a lot of effort and thought and emotion and energy into the minor. And the minor is the moment, the tough moment that you just got to push through. It takes endurance. It takes perseverance. It takes mindset. It takes grit. It takes tenacity. It takes being a son of a bitch sometimes. You know, you just got to be tough to get through that moment. Okay? All right. So those are the 3 things that I learned last month, and I hope they help somebody, because all of life is to be learned from. They're all experiences to be learned from. That's what experience is. What other value does experience have if not to learn from it, right? So as you think about your own life and you think about your experiences, don't put so much emotion and energy into the judgment of the situation, but rather use your rational mind to learn from the situation so that your future can benefit from it. Okay? 2 scenarios. A, you can look at your experience and have a judgment, an emotional judgment. It can even be a logical judgment, but that thought, that logic is going to create an emotion. So don't do that to yourself. Okay? Suspend the judgment and rather learn from it, because that's how you win in life. Okay? I'm Dr. Cruz from Design Your Destiny with Dr. Cruz. You can find more about me on capricruz.com. And if you want my newest book, Maximize Your Superpowers, just find me on Facebook, or you can email me at capricruz1@gmail.com. Okay? It's $10 on PDF, and it will change your life. Take care. Bye-bye.